Marshall. I'm the Vice President of Collaboration Solutions for the New Era MSG Group. For those of you who are not familiar, New Era is a global technology solution provider. We focus on security, digital transformation, ITMS, and of course, unified communications and collaborations. We got around 80 offices around the globe, about 4,000 talented people providing support for about 20,000 customers worldwide. RedSky has been an amazing partner for New Era over the years. I think we've got tens of thousands of endpoints currently across our customers. So we're excited to introduce their team today, who's going to provide an overview of the RedSky solution, how you can help achieve compliance with the various laws and regulations surrounding 911, and the life safety value they can bring to your organization. And with that, I'm going to hand off to the RedSky team to begin the discussion of RedSky. Thanks again for your time.
Great. Thank you, Dan. Good morning, all. Happy to be here. I am Louise Spivey, Channel Account Manager, servicing New Era with RedSky and Everbridge.
And hi, everyone. I'm Ryan Olson. I'm the Director of Sales Engineering for RedSky, and I'll be here to help answer questions and also provide a demo.
Thanks, Ryan. So today I'm going to first ask you to excuse my voice. It's going to go in and out. I'm getting over a sinus infection, so if I sound like Cookie Monster once in a while, please forgive me. So we're going to talk about Everbridge and RedSky, who we are, and our SaaS solutions. We're going to talk about the FCC regulations that are driving these conversations, our process, which is find the caller, route the caller to the proper PSAP, and notify. We're going to also talk about RedSky and an integration we've made with Everbridge for mass notification while a 911 call is being placed, and why RedSky. We're also going to share some resources we have for you, and then there will be a Q&A at the end. While we're going through this, if you have any questions, please drop them in the Q&A. So who is RedSky? You can see we're in that beautiful building, high-rise building in downtown Chicago. RedSky was born about 23 years ago now. The founder, there was an incident with a 911 call that didn't go to the right PSAP, and a PSAP, for those of you who are not aware, is a public safety answering point. Every town and city within the U.S. has a public safety office where those 911 calls are directed to for the citizens. So at that point, the founder actually wanted to really dig into 911 and how we make sure that the person in distress gets the support and from the emergency responders as quickly as possible. So this is what we do, and that's why we're the leader, because before there was any legislation, we actually were working on 911 solutions. Our solution supports all calling platforms: Cisco, Microsoft, Mitel, Avaya, as you can see by this slide. We do have a little unique we have a relationship with Cisco. It's basically an OEM relationship. So when you purchase WebEx calling, dedicated instance, or UCM cloud, RedSky is an entitlement. Talk to your New Era contact on how to get that activated. RedSky reaches every PSAP in North America and Canada, and with our solution is 100% compliant with the federal regulations. So Everbridge, we were bought by Everbridge 2.5 years ago. Everbridge was born out of the tragic events of 9/11. So think about it, critical events happen every day. And unfortunately in our world, they're becoming more and more prevalent, right? Active shooter, tornado, blizzards. I'm in Florida, we have a tornado watch for this afternoon. Operational efficiencies, people safety. So what we do is we have a 20,000 resources and 85 risk intelligent managers that work at Everbridge. And we're taking in all this intel constantly. We match that with your assets, people that you care about, data centers, disaster recovery centers, supply chain. And when a critical event comes in contact with one of your assets, that actually triggers a mass notification. So a couple of important facts I want to share with you today. In a critical emergency, 1 minute delay in response increases the mortality rate by 1 to 2%. Think about that. That's pretty staggering. Each minute of a delay increases the hospital treatment costs by 7%. In 2021, work-related injuries resulted in 167 billion of total revenue lost. These are pretty staggering facts that we want to make you aware of. So what is Carey's Law? You probably heard a lot about Carey's Law and the Ray-Baum Act. In 2013, Carey Hunt in Texas was trying to get away from her estranged husband. She took her 3 daughters to a hotel. Unfortunately, her husband found her, got in the room, and took her into the bathroom and began to stab her. Meanwhile, the oldest daughter called 911. She tried 3 times with no success. Unfortunately, the hotel required a 9 prefix for any outside calls. You know, I think about when my daughter was a toddler, and I would say, Alyssa, what do you do in an emergency? I dial 911. Tell grandma. And we were all excited and we clapped. We never taught our kids dial 9 first if you're in a corporate headquarters, a corporate building, or a hotel. So part 1 was alleviate the need for a prefix. Every phone, multi-line phone system, you must be able to pick up the phone and dial 911 directly. Part 2 of Carey's Law is providing a dispatchable location, notifying someone within the enterprise that a 911 call has been placed. So think about it. While this was all happening in Carey's room, if the front desk or security was notified that there was something going on, they may have been able to alleviate, maybe the outcome would have been different. Carey's Law paid out $41 million in a civil lawsuit. So think about that today. Now we have FCC regulations. How many organizations can suffer a $41 million lawsuit? Not only is it the financial burden of a company, what does it do to your brand? What does it do to your employees' motivation? The company didn't take duty of care. So it's really something to think about. And as you'll see by the end of the bottom of the slide, we've already come and gone. These compliances are, these regulations have been in effect and are expired at this point. So you must be compliant. There are no exceptions. Secondly is the Ray-Baum Act. The Ray-Baum Act, Section 506, actually identifies and defines what is a dispatchable location. It's a street address, a floor, a room, or a zone. And again, these are past due. So how do we define a dispatchable location? Oh, sorry. So who benefits all this legislation? Well, the 911 caller. Before I joined RedSky, I assumed anytime I called 911, it was going to work. I never thought about the accuracy of the call. The first responders, the more information we provide, the more than likely they've never been in your enterprise. So the more we help them, it reduces the time spent trying to find the person in distress. And when we saw the stats, right, every minute counts. It also benefits the management staff and security by providing this information and assisting them to help the emergency responders. New Era was kind enough to conduct a survey. So they asked, when an employee dials 911, does the PSAP, 911 call taker, get accurate location information? I thought this was interesting. Again, I was naive. 4 years ago, before I joined RedSky, I would have said yes. But so 43% said yes, 33% said no, and 24% said I don't know. So we really need to dig in and make sure everyone's educated on the Carey's Law and the Ray-Baum Act, and how we make sure, and from a networking perspective, that you folks know how to actually use the systems and make sure the routing is set up properly. So what is the RedSky solution? It's pretty simple. We find the caller. We route it to the proper PSAP. So in this example, the headquarters is in Oregon, the regional sales office is in Arizona, and the person in Arizona is the one in distress. We make sure with our E911 Anywhere that we find the remote caller. You know, in the days of centralized trunking, yes, that was less expensive, but that's where we've heard on the news many times where the emergency responders went to the wrong location. With our software, that doesn't happen. Another example, again, headquarters is in Oregon, the remote worker is in California at their home. It's still with RedSky E911 Anywhere, we find the caller. And lastly is notify as part 2 of Carey's Law. So here we've got a soft phone client up in 301 for a meeting. They're under distress, so they call they make a 911 call to the PSAP. Simultaneously, the security desk is notified via a text or email. That is part of the Carey's Law compliance. So you think, okay, what is a dispatchable location? I have all these buildings, etc. So we talked about address, street address, floor, room, or zone. So I like to look at this floor plan here. Let's start with the loading dock. So you see the loading dock when you come in, there's 4 sections, but you have clear line of sight. So can you use one dispatchable location for the loading dock? Possibly. The infamous warehouse, racks and racks of products. More than likely, you don't have clear line of sight. So you probably want multiple dispatchable locations, maybe northwest corner, northeast corner, southwest corner, southeast corner. So it's really, you've got to put yourself in the mind of the emergency responders. I've never been in this facility. How do I get to this person quickly? Then we've got the outlying offices. Are these walls, are these glass, or are they wood walls where you can't see through? Then you probably want multiple dispatchable locations. The typical cube space, love the open cube space. Are these 4-foot high cubes? Are they 6-foot high cubes? Again, you have to use some sense here of a dispatchable location. What I will suggest to you is look at this, understand it, understand the laws, and then go to your legal teams and make sure you all agree from a legal perspective and from your perspective of how your enterprise is designed. Does this make sense? We also have on our website a local, as a state, where you can put in your state and look up your regulations. So the FCC guidelines of Carey's Law and Ray-Baum Act are the minimum requirements. States vary from state to state what they've put on it in addition. For example, Florida and Vermont require a dispatchable location to the port level. And then you've got Illinois that considers a dispatchable location as every 40,000 square feet. I don't agree with that. I think that's depending on the building. And, I just think 40,000 square feet is pretty significant. But anyway, so go to our website, look at what state you're in, or if you have multiple states with different facilities, please look, understand what the state and local guidelines are in addition to the Carey's Law and the Ray-Baum Act. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce Ryan Olson again, and he's going to talk further about the solution.
Thanks, Louise. So, Louise talked about the importance of finding callers. So when they place an emergency call, we can route them to the right place, provide notifications. For phones and users on-prem, there's a variety of different ways you can do to assign locations to those phones. But when people start working remotely or in hybrid environments with soft phones, they can really work anywhere. So we have a solution called My E911 specifically for soft phone users. And what it does is runs in the background and watches for users to change their network connection. And if they happen to connect to an unknown network, it'll prompt the user to enter their location, their dispatchable location for that Ray-Baum compliance. And then what it'll do is not only remember the location they've set, but remember the network they're connected to. So for example, the first time a user goes home, the client will prompt the user to set their location, but then it will remember what they've set. So the next time they go home, they'll just be updated automatically. And then administrators can map out the network for on-prem at the office. So if a user is just going back and forth between home and office, they won't have to interact with the client. It'll remember where they are. If they happen to go to a coffee shop or visit a client, then they'll get prompted and have to set their location then. So this is compatible with any soft phone. Cisco has then taken that one step further. As Louise mentioned early in the call, we do have an agreement with Cisco for their cloud calling solutions, WebEx calling and dedicated instance. And what they've done is taken that My E911 technology and embedded it right in the WebEx app. This can also be used for customers using UCM on-prem if they're using WebEx instead of Jabber. And what this does is it allows users to manage their emergency location directly in the WebEx client and still have that update RedSky automatically. So a little bit of a nice user experience there where they can do it all right in the client that they're working in all day. And then, as Louise mentioned, an important aspect of Kerry's law is the ability to provide notifications to security and administrators that a call occurred. So we've got a few examples up here. RedSky can do email and text messages. We also have a desktop application that will do a screen pop, play a siren, so that security can really, be aware that a call happened. Then we've got some advanced notification features where we can actually conference in security so they can hear the live 911 call and even barge in and participate if they need to in the event that, the caller can't speak. And then we can record that call as well and store it in our cloud for playback or to download and store offline. And then additionally, we have one other kind of add-on feature here for really designed for campuses or maybe military environments and any sort of organization where you've got an on-site police or public safety that's outside of the normal county or municipal PSAP. So for example, a lot of universities will have their own police, and they've got an agreement with the county where they want the campus police to respond to the call. If the caller happens to be on campus, they can get there quicker. We can create alternate routing rules so that if a caller happens to be on campus, we'll send it to the campus police. And if they're off campus, send it into the county PSAP. And we can do that dynamically based on the location of the caller. So now we're going to talk a little bit about how RedSky can work with Everbridge. As Louise mentioned, Everbridge really plays in the critical event management, mass notification space. And what we can do is take the call details we have in RedSky and push that into Everbridge and trigger alerts through the Everbridge platform. So if you're managing other incidents through Everbridge already, you can get your 911 call notifications in that same place as well. It also allows us to extend some of the capabilities on the notification side. So for example, we can push a notification to a mobile app. We can create different alert rules on who to notify, when to notify them. So for example, if you have security that works in shifts, you can say notify this team if the call occurs during the day and notify this other team if the call occurs at night. Different rules based on the location of the caller. There's the ability to, confirm that you were notified, how you got notified, as well as polling responses. So you can include in the notification the reason for the emergency call, and then if you need to, in turn, send out a follow-up notification to other people within the organization, they can respond, for example, letting you know that they're safe. So here's what the life cycle of an emergency call looks like when using RedSky and Everbridge together. So first step is, of course, have a valid location for that caller, whether they're on-prem or working remotely. That end user then places a 911 call that's going to route through RedSky. And using our notification capabilities, we're going to conference in security so they can hear the live call. So now they know the reason for the emergency call. And then we can also kick off an incident automatically to notify security. So they've got the location of the caller. They're also on the phone hearing the nature of the call. And then, for example, if they hear the reason the person's calling in is to report a fire, they may then want to notify the other employees that are at the office that day that they need to evacuate. And they can then send out a follow-up notification to all the employees saying, hey, there's a fire floor 3. evacuate, and then that's where that polling response comes into play, and the employees can respond, I got out of the building safely, I need help, maybe they're not in the office that day. So you can really kind of bridge both solutions together there. So here's a couple notification examples. We're going to go through the demo here too, and I'll kick off a test emergency call so we can see those. So here's an email. Here's the mobile app with the details of the callers. You can see, the phone on the right has acknowledged it got the notification. It's also an option to create a secure chat. So if you need to communicate with other members of the security team, you can do that right through the app there as well. And then again, here's the response of the example with the fire, where you can put these different, pre-canned responses in here that allows the end users to quickly respond, and then you can take other actions, based on the responses from the employees. Okay, so I'm going to take over the screen now, and I'll walk through the RedSky portal, talk about the notifications and how that can go into Everbridge, and then we'll do a quick test call as well. So here I'm logged into the RedSky portal. So this is the view you get when you first log in. It takes you to a dashboard. This dashboard has some useful information you can see quickly at a glance. You can see how many administrators, there's some issues, luckily no issues for me here, but you could see if you have users without a location, phones without locations, licensing information. You can quickly see recent emergency calls, recent events. And then so we've got this left-hand navigation menu here. I'm gonna mostly focus on configuration for the purpose of this demo here. So I'm gonna start with the locations here. So we leverage a building and location hierarchy here. So the building is gonna have a street address. You can see we'll log the lat long as well. We can actually provision locations based just on lat long if you happen to have sites that are, don't have a real postal address. That happens a lot with utilities. And then within the building, we have our locations. So this is where you build out those dispatchable locations. So for example, here I've got 3 locations all on the 16th floor. I've called out a conference room, and I've got a north side and a south side. So in terms of what's going to display at the PSAP or at the emergency dispatcher screen, they're going to see the organization name, in this case, just RedSky MN demo. They're going to see the street address of the caller. They're going to see all the data in location information. We can use up to 60 characters in location information, but a briefer is usually better, so they can see it quickly, but up to 60 characters. And then they'll see the phone number of the caller. So fields like building name, location name, we can include that on reports and internal alerts, but it won't display on the PSAP screen. And then we'll see here for the conference room, I have a phone number assigned to this location, but these 2 zones, I don't have a phone number. So the reason for that is there's a couple different ways we can assign locations. So, phone number is a more static approach. So in this example, we've got a phone in the conference room. That's where that phone sits. This is the phone number of that conference room phone. But for phones or users that might be moving around on the floor, we don't want to just map their phone number. Or if the user, for example, is sometimes working from home, we don't want to just map their phone number to a location because that's pretty static. So in that scenario, what we have is this network discovery area where we can actually map different network elements to those emergency locations. So phones and users can dynamically obtain a location. So here we have MAC address. I don't have any examples here. This is more used as a one-off. So like the conference room phone, instead of doing phone number, I could have used the MAC address of that conference room phone. Again, pretty static though. Then we have LLDP. So this allows you to map locations to layer 2 switches, and then if necessary, even call out specific ports on that switch. So again, I still have the conference room in here. So if someone, brings their laptop or phone into the conference room and plugs into one of the 3 network ports there, they'll automatically be assigned to the conference room. Otherwise, they're going to get the south room if they're on any of the other ports. Then for Wi-Fi, we can do the BSSID. So this would be the MAC address of the wireless access point. So this is different than the SSID, which is, the entire network name and is generally going to cover a pretty wide area. This is for each individual access point. You can see, you can map multiple access points to the same location. So here, these first 2 are to the north, and I have 3 to the south. And then lastly, we have IP ranges. So, this is just a lower IP address and upper IP address, very easy to implement. The drawback is you can't necessarily get as granular as you can with some of the other methods. So my E911 users are going to key off this information as well. So if you've got users, when they come into the office, they can be, found automatically based on this information. I'm going to go to the users now. So this is where your My E911 users get configured. We need an email address and a phone number. We do have the ability to also map these users to extensions if each user doesn't have their own DID. In this example, I'm using a full phone number though. So you can see this user here in the office today. If I click on this, we can see the address. I was found, I'm on Wi-Fi, found by BSSID. If I was at home, I'd have the icon would be a little different. It'd be, a personal location that I created gets a different logo that looks like a house. If I expand this as an admin, I can see all the locations this user has created. So, done some traveling, so different hotels and conference centers that my user has been at. And then we can also see, the user that's logged in. I have a Windows and a Mac machine, so you can see different logins if the client's installed in multiple places. I'm going to quickly jump over to what the My E911 user experience looks like, and then I'll hop back into the admin portal. So My E911 runs in the system tray. It's just down here. But the user interface is actually in the browser. So I already have it open here. And again, as a user, I can see where I'm at. If I had gone to a new network and I had to set a location, this browser tab would pop up automatically and prompt me to set a location. Now, as a user, there's not a whole lot I can do. I can see where I'm at. I can click to add a new location. And I can go and view locations I've created before. So again, here's my list of personal locations. So these are just locations that my user can see. So for example, Louise wouldn't be able to see my home address. I can also see the corporate locations. And again, these are going to correspond to those same locations that were in the admin portal. So here's where I'm at right now, RedSky Office South. That's all I can do as a user. So, it's designed so that you're not interacting with it very often, only when you go to a new network. Going back to the portal, one other thing I want to call out here on the users, you'll notice there's no password for this user. Email and phone number are the only required fields. When the user first launches the client, they're going to be prompted for their email address. And then that will send them a verification code, and we'll store that, and that links the user's computer to their user profile. So no password to manage for your E911 users. I'm going to jump over to the notifications here. So a couple different things. So RedSky can natively send out email, text message, screen pop alerts. We can build alert subscriptions based on the building of the caller. So I'm going to just quickly fill out a test one here. We can also create special alerts for 933 test calls. So, the recipients know this is just a test. It's not a real emergency. So that does give you a little more flexibility there. And then here on the filtering, we can either say, I want to be notified on all calls, whether they're in the office or working remotely. Maybe I only want to be notified of calls from a specific building. So you have some different filtering you can do here. Let's close that. Alternatively, we have the ability, as I mentioned earlier, to push a notification to Everbridge Mass Notification Incident Communication interface. So that's this option here. I've already connected this to my Everbridge org, but once you connect it, what it does is pulls down the list of incident templates, and you pick which template you want to use for the notifications. And then every emergency call just passes those details over to the Everbridge platform, and the rules of what that message looks like, who gets notified, when they get notified, all dictated by the incident template. So this is really the only configuration you have to do there. So before I go over to that side, I'm going to do a quick test call here, trigger a couple alerts, and kick off an incident. So hopefully everything triggers correctly. So here's the RedSky notification. It's playing a siren quite loudly in my headset. Acknowledge that. Here's an Everbridge notification as well. But you can see that's what that looks like. So on the RedSky side from the dashboard, I can click right into recent emergency calls. So here's that call I just placed from my user. So it used that location from my user. This details tab here is going to show all the information we have about the caller. So although my alert only, contains some of this information, all of this is available to be passed on the notification. So I'm going to switch over to the Everbridge portal here. So this is the Everbridge dashboard. I'm not going to go through all of this, but I'm going to first kind of show the incident template that we used. So we're using this RedSky E911 template. So here's our outgoing message. As you can see, it does support rich text. We can put graphics, we can put links in here. So I've got links to Google Maps based on the lat and long of the caller as part of my template. And then over on the left side here, these are all variables that we can use in the template. So any of these in blue here are data we can get from RedSky to include in the template. I'm not using all of them, but I'm using what I deem the most relevant. And then on this template, we can dictate who gets notified. So I have a couple people set to always be notified, regardless of the caller. And then I have some conditions here. So I've got a night shift rule here that, if the call is, between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m., notify a night group. If the caller is anywhere in Chicago, whether that's in the RedSky office or, someone, working from home in Chicago, notify a Chicago security group. So you can build these out using any of the variables. You can see all these variables are available to be used for these alert filters. And then you can set some rules on, how people get notified. So in this case, I have email, SMS, and the Everbridge app. So my mobile app went off as well. I'm not sharing my phone, but so those are my notification methods. And then what the actual incident looks like. So again, here's that call I just placed. We click in this, we can get some details. So again, here's kind of the sample message here. We notified 3 people. None of us have confirmed it, but if we did, it would tell us how. And again, all those variables that we got from RedSky are available here. I don't have any set up right here, but you can then also kick off other workflows. So if I did have a polling response in here, I could kick off a workflow to trigger other actions based on how people are responding to the notification. And with that, I am going to turn it back over to Louise.
Thank you, Ryan. That was great. So why RedSky? So responsibility of employer is now documented and legislation will continue to evolve. This isn't going away, right? The remote worker model is long-term permanent issue because companies are going hybrid, but the remote worker isn't going away. And then the E911 ensures protection across your enterprise, whether at the office or at home. RedSky's, we're flexible. We can work with your on-prem or your cloud solution, all calling platforms. We really differentiate ourselves out in the marketplace because, first of all, RedSky's been doing this for so many years. And we have multiple VPCs that allows us to maintain our 5.9 uptime status. And then we've been the leader forever. We did this before there were legislation. That's all we do. And Ryan, his teams and other teams, we live and breathe 911. So we are the leader and we're here to help you. So the question I would ask each and every customer, everybody you run into is, are you compliant with Kerry's law and the Ray-Baum Act? If you're not sure, please reach out to the New Era team. A couple of resources that we put together here is if you actually take a photo of the QR code, a really quick assessment, it's 6 or 9 questions, very simple questions. And at the end, it'll tell you if you're technically compliant or not. Again, we always suggest talk to your legal teams. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time. And now we'll talk to any questions that were put in the Q&A.
Louise, we have one question. How can we protect our employees if they are traveling for business?
Ryan, do you want to field that?
Yeah, so that's really where the My 911 client comes into play. You know, the example I used was someone working from home, but if you saw in my kind of personal locations my user had, like I was out at Enterprise Connect in Orlando 2 weeks ago. So I had the conference floor as a location. I had my hotel as a location. So as long as they're using their laptop, they will be prompted to set their location when they're traveling as well. The nice thing about our routing is it's all based on the location of the caller. So it doesn't matter, you know, what your area code is or where your headquarters is. All the routing is based on the location of the caller.
So the RedSky solution can solve that from what Ryan just said. In addition, if it's really something, you've got sea levels that travel worldwide, contact your New Era person who will contact me. Everbridge has a really great solution called travel risk management. So for example, if you have sea levels and they're landing in Paris tomorrow at 2, so we integrate with a lot of the itineraries. So if your itinerary tells the system you're landing in Paris at 2 o'clock tomorrow, we compare it to the intel we're gathering, and there's going to be a civil protest on the west side of the city tomorrow. We're going to let you know that, and we're going to suggest an alternative route. So there's a lot of ways that we can help that use case. Any other questions?
I see
Yes.
a question about, you know, migrating from an on-prem call manager deployment to WebEx calling. So
Great question.
the short answer is yes, it can be migrated. We do have a separate portal we maintain specifically for the Cisco integration. So it can't necessarily just be moved by the click of a button, but all the data is going to be similar. So we can do exports from their existing configuration and import it into their WebEx calling tenant. There's also some nice integrations with WebEx Calling Control Hub to make it easy to turn up the RedSky account as well as manage the users.
Great. Any other questions, Kristen?
There's one that came through for the laws that you mentioned. How much time do companies have to start to comply, and what does the urgency look like?
Great question. The deadlines have already come and gone 2 years ago. So please, I can't beg you enough to make this a priority. You've got to make it a priority. You're non-compliant today, and You know, I always laugh I always say, joke, this is like the Martha Stewart rule. The FCC is waiting for the first non-offender so that they can make an example of it. And again, Kerry's Law paid out $41 million. So please talk to your legal, call us. If you get pushback from your upper level, I would document it in email and send it to your home email. Cover yourself. I can't stress enough. This is 2 years old at this point. There's no wiggle room.
Thank you. I don't see any other questions.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it. We hope that you've learned something. And if you already were pretty familiar, took a couple little nuggets from this presentation, but we're here to help. Contact your New Era person who will contact me and will definitely help you. We can do demos. We can come out on site and help. Whatever you need, we're here. We want to make sure everyone is compliant. Thank you so much and have a great day.